And I know what you're thinking, and the answer is yes. I did force a couple of my students to count out 2,740 jelly beans, because I'm just that kind of guy. And no, there's not 2,740 jelly beans here, because between yesterday's work crew and having my students at worship practice all week, the lesson I learned is you can't just have a bowl of jelly beans out in the open with a do not eat sign and people follow it. So there you go. But this right here, like the video was saying, this is our free time. This is after eating and working, after sleeping and grooming, traveling, helping others, going to community events. This is the time. This is the time we have left. And unless you're just now turning 15 years old, we've spent some of that time. We have all spent some of this free time one way or another. Like remember, hey, that one day it was raining, and so you decided that, hey, today would be a good day to watch all 3 Lord of the Rings, Director's Cut, Extended Edition, 11 hours. You know who you are. You know you've done it. Or, because it has just been so long, you drove to Salt Lake and back just for Chick-fil-A because it's been 6 months. You've done it. Don't lie to me. I know you have. I know some of you have gone there just for the Chick-fil-A. I'll have a little bit of a vulnerability from here on the stage. This is going to shock you, but when I was in high school, I was a nerd. And I know. Try not to think less of me. But I played this game. I played this online game. And this video game required a lot of my time. And I spent a lot of my time playing this video game. And in this video game, it counted your time played in days. So if you put 24 hours into this game, you played 1 day played. And after high school and, first year of college, I had played like 300 days of this game. Now, before you go judging me, yeah, I know you're, what? Don't do the math, okay? Before you go judging me, if you're older than 23 years old, okay, you've spent this time. Whatever this free time is that you had, you've spent it. Maybe you just started reading a really good book, and then you read the next 12, and you spent some of your time doing that. Maybe you wanted to learn a foreign language, and then you gave up after a day because it's hard. I mean, come on. Maybe you decided that you were just going to take apart a microwave to see if you could put it back together. Drex Bowden, I know he's probably done it. All you other Drex Bowdens in here. But you've spent some of that time. We've all had this time. We've all spent some of it. Hopefully doing something you love. Hopefully making a really good memory. But remember, this isn't work. This isn't eating. This isn't sleeping. You could have done anything you wanted with this time. And we've all spent some of that time, but I don't want us to focus on that bucket. That bucket says yesterday. That's the past. I don't want us to focus on that bucket. An ancient Chinese prophet once said, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. And that's why they call it the present. And that was Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda, just so you know. You can learn things from cartoons, all right? But I want us to focus on just this. I want us to focus on today. What are we going to do with our free time today? Right here. Because if you've been a Christian and if you've been around it long enough, maybe you've heard what Paul said in Colossians. It's the key verse for this morning. Ultimately, our time, the time we have, is to glorify and honor God, right? Colossians 3:17 says this. It says, whatever you do, whether watching Lord of the Rings or eating Chick-fil-A, it's an abridged version. Whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. The ultimate goal of our time is to honor him. And it's God who gives us that time. So what are we going to do today? Well, that's what I want us to focus on. I really hope, if you haven't already, please sometime this week get into this. Get into this Believe book, get into the other yellow book, go with a life group, do some study, because Randy's going to talk about a lot more than I'm going to be able to this morning, because I want to just focus on managing our time. That's what I want to talk about this morning, is how are we going to manage our time? Because I believe that for us Americans living in the 21st century, in this technological era, one of the hardest difficulties we face day after day after day is managing our time. Never having this free time, right? We believe that we just don't have this, that this doesn't exist. Well, that's not true. So if you have a Bible, I want you to get it out. We're going to be in Exodus chapter 16. Genesis, Exodus. If you didn't bring a Bible, there should be one in front of the chair racks in front of you. Exodus chapter 16 is where we're going to be, because the Israelites give us a good picture of what I want to talk about. And they probably give us a good picture of us, of who we are. And so Exodus 16, this takes place right after the Israelites got out of Egypt, right? Let my people go. Pharaoh lets them go. They cross the sea. They're out. They're now living in the desert, in the wilderness. And the Israelites do what they always do best. They complain. They grumble. Yeah. So here we go. Exodus chapter 16. We're going to pick it up in verse 1. It says, the whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "Oh, if only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt." Come on, Israelites. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted, but you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death. Sorry. That's what Moses was thinking. Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions." Now, isn't that interesting? When we complain, what is God doing? Testing. Ooh, we don't like that. Kind of makes you think. If the things we're complaining about, that we're grumbling about, that we're arguing and bickering over, I wonder if it's Him testing you. Just a thought. But it reminds me so much what God wants to do with the Israelites of that classic classroom game, Simon Says. You know Simon Says? Yeah? You played Simon Says? Do we need to play Simon? Should we play Simon Says? Should we play? All right, come on. Let's start right now. Let's play Simon Says. Stand up. Come on, stand up. Let's play Simon Says. Yeah, Simon didn't say stand up. Sit down. You're out. I cannot believe you. These are the ones I have trained to be good at games. We're playing dodgeball later tonight, and you let me down. What is this, amateur hour? Come on. Some of you were just too excited. You're like, "Oh, we're going to play a game in church." No. But God wanted to do the same thing with the Israelites, except He wasn't going to trick them like I tried to trick you. He was going to say it so simply, put it straight forward. I just want to see if they will listen to my instructions, and then if they'll follow them. So God tells Moses and Aaron exactly what He's going to do. Moses and Aaron come before the Israelites, and just off in the distance it says the glory of God appears like a cloud. And as Moses and Aaron are telling the Israelites what is going on, God says, "This is how you will know that I am the Lord, that every evening I will send you meat. Every morning you will wake up to bread, and then you will know that I am who I am." And I don't know, I kind of like to think it looks something like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and there's just like these rotisserie chickens just like falling, and you could just like in the middle of the night hold out a plate, and there'd be this meat. Probably didn't look like that. But pick it up in verse 13. Exodus 16, starting in verse 13, it says, "That evening quail came and covered the camp. And in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, 'What is it?' For they didn't know what it was. Moses said to them, 'It is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Everyone is to gather as much as they needed. Take an omer for each person you have in your tent.' And funny enough, the Israelites did as they were told. They usually don't. But they did as they were told, so some gathered much, some gathered little, and when they measured it by the omer, the one who gathered much didn't have too much. The one who gathered little didn't have too little. Everyone had gathered just as much as they needed. Then Moses said to them, no one is to keep any of it until morning. Plot twist. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses. They kept part of it until morning, but it was full of maggots and began to smell, so Moses was angry with them. Then time went on, and each morning everyone gathered as much as they needed, and when the sun grew hot, it melted away. On the sixth day they gathered twice as much, 2 omers for each person, and the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses. And he said to them, this is what the Lord commanded, tomorrow is to be a day of Sabbath rest. A holy Sabbath to the Lord, so bake what you want to bake, boil what you want to boil, save some, and keep it until morning. So they saved it until morning as Moses commanded, and it didn't stink or get maggots in it. Eat it today, Moses said, because today is a Sabbath to the Lord. You will not find any of it on the ground today. 6 days you are to gather, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there will be none. And this is the worst part of the story. Nevertheless, some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather it, and they found none. And then the Lord said to Moses, how long will you refuse to keep my commands and my instructions? Bear in mind that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why on the 6th day he gives you bread for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where they are on the 7th day. No one is to go out. So after they had learned their lesson, after they had made their mistakes, the people rested on the 7th day. And I can't help but feel like we fall into the same 2 traps that the Israelites did. And the first is futile labor, just meaningless work. When God is saying, hey, you won't find it, it won't be there, we go and do all this work. We pour labor and time and resources into doing all of this work that amounts to nothing. And if we just would have taken a step back and thought about it in the first place, maybe we would have never had to make that mistake. And the second way we fail is we don't rest. God is saying, I'm giving you a Sabbath. I made you the 7th day so you could rest. Why are you going out and working? And I know all of us in here probably sometime this morning, maybe right before you walked into the doors, thought about what you're going to do today. You're thinking, okay, I'm going to go to church, then I'm going to get lunch, and then it's go time. And I'm going to get the house cleaned, and I'm going to do laundry, and I'm going to pack a week's worth of lunches, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and work and work. And we work ourselves to death. And God is saying, I want you to rest. I just want you to rest. And the problem is, it's because we're no good at managing our time. Because there is this free time, there's this time to do everything that we need to do, there's this time that we have today, but we don't think it exists. Because we suck at managing our time. So if we could just get better at managing our time, maybe we wouldn't be like the Israelites. But here's the kicker. Managing time is impossible. So, small detail, it's impossible. I was listening to a New York Times best-selling author. He's a self-discipline strategist. His name is Rory Vaden. And he said, time management is impossible. Because time is just time. Everyone has the same amount of time. There's 24 hours in a day, 86,400 seconds in a week. There's nothing you can do to get, impressive. There's nothing you can do to get more time. You can't stop time. You can't rewind time. You cannot manage time. So stop pretending you can. He said, here's what you do instead. He said, what if you just managed yourself better? I went, ooh, that's pretty deep. He said we have to stop blaming our lives on the clock and the calendar, and we need to start owning up to it. We need to be the ones. Not the clock's fault, our fault that we didn't do something. So we need to better manage ourselves. And what I really liked about Rory Vaden is at the end of his 20-minute talk, he's in front of this audience, and he says, now I don't mean to offend. He says, I don't know your religious affiliation or your opinion on religion or anything. He says, but I know this. He says, I know that when God created man, the very first instruction he gave man was, you know it? Very first one, Genesis 1. Be fruitful and multiply. The very first commandment he ever gave man is that he wants you to be fruitful and multiply. God doesn't want you to just live and die. He wants you to thrive. And Rory Vaden said, if we can better manage ourselves, if we can better manage our life, then that time we're given, we can do more and we can multiply it. And we can be fruitful and we can thrive. So that's what I want us to focus on this morning. How do we better manage ourselves? So I did some research, did a lot of research. I went to all different kinds of areas. I went to business-minded people like Forbes and Entrepreneur. I went to WebMD. I went to health and psychology journals. I watched TED Talks. I did everything I could, and I put this list of 8 things that we can do, 8 ways that if we would incorporate this into our life, we could better manage our life so that we can do more with our time. So I want to give these 8 quick things to you. Starting off, number 1. If you want to better manage yourself so that you can do more with your time, you got to have a time journal. You have to have a time journal. It's pretty easy in common practice nowadays. If you want to get better at eating healthier, you keep a food journal. Every M&M, every jelly bean you eat, you write it down. And for a whole week, you write everything that you eat, that you drink, and then you go back and you look at it, and you can find the holes. If you want to get better at exercising, you get an app or you get a Fitbit. I'm pretty hip nowadays. You get a Fitbit to track your exercise. If you want to get better at managing your time and yourself, keep a time journal. It's way simple. All you do is you get a notebook. There you can use your phone, take notes on it. There's even a couple apps I researched. So you can get an app on your phone. But basically, you just keep a journal of every single second of an entire week. Anything you do, you write it down. If you go to the bathroom and it takes you 2 minutes, you write it down. If you go to the bathroom 20 times a day, change your diet, because it's not working for you. But you write it down. If you travel to work, you write it down. If you pick up the kids, you write it down. You write everything down that you do for a week, and when you go back, you can start to see a pattern. Maybe you can start to question, like, why does it take me so long to travel to and from work? Well, maybe it's because you're stopping at a gas station or for coffee. And you can start to see the patterns. Keep a time journal. Number 2 is make a time-based to-do list. Guys, you don't know what this is. Your wife has it, trust me. There's a to-do list. We all have one. We want to do these things, and we make this huge, giant list, and we just look at it and go, nope, not going to even start. If you want to get that to-do list done, here's what you do. You put a little time next to it. However long you think it's going to take you to do that, just put it down. And what that will do is it will motivate you and pressure yourself into getting it done in that time. Now, the biggest thing is you have to make realistic times. If you say you're going to clean the whole house, top to bottom, in 15 minutes, probably not going to happen. But you got to be realistic. You got to realize there will be interruptions, okay? Maybe a child calls you and needs your help. Maybe a neighbor comes and knocks on your door. There will be interruptions. But put a little time next to that. Here's the interesting I found. I found this in one of Entrepreneur's journals. It says 20% of work produces 80% of results. Now that means if you were going to get something done in an hour, you are more likely to get the majority of that work done in just 12 minutes than the entire hour. Which goes to number 3. Eliminate time wasters. The reason we can do 80% of our work in 20% of the time is because the other 80% of the time, we're checking Facebook, you're on your social medias, Instagram, Snapchat, you're on Pinterest. I know you are. Let's go ahead, everybody. Close your eyes, raise your hand if you're on Pinterest. It's fine. Maybe it's not those. Maybe it's just the TV or the radio. Maybe you're saying, Kyle, I have gone completely off the grid. We're electric free. I don't have any of that distraction. Well, then it's sitting in your comfy chair. It's sitting out on the porch. It's watching the clouds. I don't know. But we all have time wasters. And our day starts to look like this clock. Ooh, I have to post. Then I have to tweet. Then I have to share a link. Then I have to watch an ad because ads are everywhere. Then I have to wait for somebody to like my status so I can tell them thanks, or I don't know, whatever you do. There's time wasters. Eliminate them. Maybe it means you need to go as extreme as deleting some accounts or deleting some apps. We're all at fault. You can check my phone if you want. I have all of those. But maybe the biggest thing we need to just change is every once in a while is to turn this off or put it on silent or leave it in a different room. Remember, this isn't your work. This isn't eating or sleeping or grooming. This is your free time. You can do anything you want with this time. Eliminate time wasters so you can do more with that time. Number 4, less is more. The Charmin Ultra slogan. Less is more. And by this I mean less work overall for more valuable work, right? Quantity versus quality. Now I really stink at this one because I love quantity. If you were here for the workday yesterday, I had this task board and there were like 50 slips of paper and like as many pieces of paper as I could get up there I could, if that meant like splitting one into 4. Because I love it. I love seeing just those being ripped off as we were doing them. I like a big list that's just crossed out. When I'm at home, it's like clean the kitchen, clean the bedroom, clean the other bedroom, clean the stairway, instead of just clean the house, it's this. Because I love it. I love seeing that. But what that does is that mindset, it makes us ask the question, how much can I get done today? And we think that's just so amped up and cool. Like, how much can I really get done today? Well, that question doesn't help. We need to be asking, what can I do today that will make an impact on tomorrow? We'll talk more about that bucket later. Number 5. Number 5 is prioritize. If you don't want to be in the quantity mindset, then you need to prioritize. This also came from Rory Vaden, and I thought this was really interesting. He calls this the focus funnel. And he came up with this little diagram to help you. If you've got this long list of things and you don't know where to start or where to begin, you run them through this funnel. Let me take you through it. The first one is eliminate. You start off with eliminate. Do I really need to wipe in between the shades of my blinds? Maybe, if you have really dirty blinds. But you probably don't need to do that all the time, every week. Do I need to do this task? If you don't need to do it, you get rid of it, you move on to the next one. If you think you need to do it, if you really think you need to do it, go to the next step. The next step is automate. Automate is, can I make a system for this today that'll help me out later on? If you do the same thing every week and it takes 1 hour of your time, can you spend 3 hours today to make it only take 10 minutes? Make sense? So that over 3, 4, 5 weeks, you start to save on time. Can you do something today to help you out tomorrow? If you can't, you go on to the next one, which is delegate. Delegate is, can I force my child to do this without him complaining too much? It's basically what that means. And if you can, make him do it, If you got to pay him $1. But delegate, can I pass this work to somebody else? Is there somebody else who has more time that can be doing these kind of things? If you have to be the one to do it, then you go to the very last step, which is either A, you're going to concentrate. Concentrate means you're going to get it done right now. You're not going to leave it on that to-do list to do it tomorrow. You're going to do it right now. And if you can't do it right now, you leave it off to the side. And what ends up happening, Vaden was explaining, was if you keep moving it to the side and re-going through the funnel, after 3, 4 times, you end up just eliminating it or automating it. Because you probably should have just eliminated it in the first place, but you felt bad about it. And after you've put it off and put it off and put it off, you realize, hey, it's not really worth my time to be doing that. Or, hey, I really can do that faster. I'm going to get that done. So prioritize. I thought that was really neat. Use it if you like. Number 6. Number 6 is take breaks. Now listen to what I said. I said take breaks. I didn't say take naps. Okay? Some of you going, "Aw, naps are evil." They really are. And I love naps. And naps are great. And naps are evil. I hate naps. I physically could not take a nap until college. I really couldn't. If I woke up after 6 a.m., I was up and going. I couldn't go back to sleep. Then I went to college, and my roommate freshman year was Kyle Bilby. Kyle Bilby was great at taking naps in the way you should. He would only take them for 15, 20 minutes. So he would come back in the afternoon after lunch. He'd want to go take a nap. And so, being the good roommate, I would turn off the lights and try to stay quiet, and usually we'd just put a movie on and he'd fall asleep. Well, what happened is I started falling asleep. Well, Kyle would go wake up and go to basketball practice, and he would leave me sleeping. And he would come back after dinner and say, "Yo, Kyle, you missed dinner. You were sleeping." And I'd be like, "Are you kidding me? Why didn't you wake me up?" And ever since then, I just became a pro at taking naps, and they're really good. But breaks are meant to rest and re-energize, not relapse and regret. Have you ever had one of those naps you woke up and you just hated everything? You wake up and you're groggy, and you're like, I'm never doing that again except tomorrow and every other day for the rest of my life. Naps are evil. Yeah, they're terrible. Don't take naps. If you want to be productive, if you want to see more done with your time, take breaks. 5, 10, 15 minutes tops. Find somewhere to just sit. Don't be on your phone. That's not rest. That's catching up with the world that doesn't even exist. Take rest. Sit. Relax. Get a drink of coffee or tea or water. And when you've rested a little bit, get back to doing something. Breaks are okay. Naps are evil. If we have to talk more after service, we can. Number 7. Seriously, stop wasting time, okay? You didn't listen when I said eliminate time wasters. Eliminate time wasters. Stop wasting time. We're all terrible at it. And the reason is because right now in this fast-paced day and age, we don't realize that this free time comes as in-between time. We think, I don't have any free time. I'm go 6 to 10, nonstop. Well, you have a lot of in-between time. You're just not making use of it. There's a lot you can do in 30 minutes. Instead of just going and sitting and waiting for somebody and being on your phone, think, what can I do right now? I've got 20 minutes before I need to go pick up my kid. I can't clean the whole house. What if I just clean this one bathroom? Use that in-between time for something productive. Got a couple stats for you. I thought this was pretty interesting. Bill Gates. Maybe you've heard this one before. Bill Gates, if he drops a $100 bill, he loses money if he takes the time to pick it back up. Have you heard that? Well, I got some breaking news for you. You're not Bill Gates, okay? Bill Gates would lose money if he took the time to pick that up. You're not Bill Gates. And the reason we think this in-between time doesn't matter to us is because we've all heard money equals time. Time equals money, right? And then we go, well, Kyle, I ain't got no money, so I ain't got no time. I'm just poor. That ain't true. It's not true. We all have time. There's this SNL skit. I really never watched SNL, but this skit, I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe you have. I got played in every psychology and counseling class I took in college. But this woman walks into a psychologist's office. She sits down and she goes, well, I have this fear that I'm going to be buried alive in a box. The psychologist goes, well, has somebody tried to bury you alive in a box? And she goes, no, I'm just afraid it's going to happen. Okay, well, how's that affect your day? And she goes, well, I can't sleep. I can't ride in buses or go in houses or anything box-shaped. And he goes, okay, I think I can help you. She goes, you can? Yeah, I think I can help you. I'm just going to give you 2 words. 2 words. And she's like, do I need to write this down? It's just 2 words. It's 2 words. Stop it! Stop it! She's like, I can't. I'm just afraid. And he's like, stop it or I'll bury you alive in a box. Just stop it. There's no reason for us to waste time. Y'all probably knew that already. There's no reason, so just stop it. Stop wasting time. Number 8, turn tasks into habits. Now this one's pretty interesting because there's a lot of research done with habits. If you want to build a new habit, the saying that's always been passed around is that it takes 21 days. It takes 3 weeks. Well, a guy named James Clear, he's a behavioral psychologist, he did a study, and what he found was if you want to build a new habit, say you want to wake up and go to the gym every morning, if you want to build a habit, something that is in your brain, that comes as routine, that doesn't take any focus or drive, you just do it, takes 2 months. 2 months of doing the same thing every single day before your brain recognizes it as a habit. 2 months of your time. And you want to know how long it takes to break it? 3 days. If you do something for a month and a half and you're almost to that 2-month mark and you go on vacation and you skip out 3 days, your brain has completely disconnected everything it thought about going to the gym at 5:30 in the morning. James Clear said this, a task is something you just do, a habit is something you do routinely, usually every day, daily, it's something you do all the time. You are 91% more likely to accomplish a habit than you are a task. He took a group of people, he made them do something all the time, and the people that already had it established, already knew that they needed to do it, they had a 91% success rate. And the people that he just tried to motivate to do it, he tried to inspire them to do it, they didn't already want to do it, they had a less than 30% success rate. That means if you woke up in the morning to go to the gym, if it's not a habit, if you haven't already done it for 2 months, you have a 30% chance that you're going to end up doing it, compared to a 91% chance. So how do you do it? How do you turn tasks into habits? You lie to yourself. It's true. I checked with God. He said this is the one time it's okay. You lie to yourself and you pretend. I came across this theory online, and it said if you pretend that you've been doing this thing for a long time, you trick your brain into thinking that way. So say I want to get up at 5:30 in the morning to work out. If I wake up and the first thing I tell myself is, well, this is what I always do, I just got to go do it, you're more likely than if you go, first day. Is it raining? I think it's raining. Yeah, no way. Going back to bed. You just lie. You pretend to yourself. You tell yourself, I have been doing this every day for 2 years. I've got to go. It's just what I do. You put 2 years of writing on it, you will not want to miss. If you wake up and you tell yourself, if I stop going to the gym now, I'll break my 2-year streak. It's a lie, but it's okay, because you don't want to give that up. You won't. Try it out. Try it out on something you hate. Tell me I'm wrong. I'd like to know what your results are. But you tell yourself that you have this huge time period that you've just been waiting to do it. Well, that's my 8 tips, tricks. Use them as you will, use them as you like. I hope they do something for you. Because really, I'm bad at it as much as you all, probably worse than some of you all in here. Because we have this time today, and we have this choice that we get to make. And the reason this is so important, the reason this time is important, because Genesis 1, be fruitful and multiply, points to Galatians 6. Galatians 6, Paul says this. Starting in verse 7, going to verse 10, Paul says, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. I thought that was kind of funny. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap. For the one who sows to his own flesh will from the flesh reap corruption, but the one who sows to the Spirit will from the Spirit reap eternal life. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith. We have this beautiful, wonderful opportunity choice today with this time we have. And what can we do today to make a better tomorrow? What is something I can do right now with my time that I can invest in, that I can make something for myself? How can I put this time into this bucket? It says tomorrow. And maybe we never get to see what comes out of this bucket. We know we can't go back. We know we can't take time out of this bucket. We can't. It's not possible. It's been spent. We've used it. But what can we do today to move this into that bucket? What is God calling you to do today? To do something for Him and His kingdom. Paul says, let's not grow weary in doing good. Let's not give up, folks. We have this huge opportunity right in front of us. Man, I was so happy to see that many people yesterday. That was amazing. If you haven't, take just a look around the church. Oh, it looks 10 times, 20 times, 100 times better. And then maybe it's just little things that you've never noticed before, but like these mulch beds out here, the inside, the kitchen being clean, oh, it's beautiful. And that's just a little bit of what we can do with our time to glorify God. What is He sending your way? Marty talked about spiritual gifts last week. I wonder how those play into this. I wonder what God has gifted you to do. What is He calling you to do? What does He want you to do? Does He want you to spend this time today so you can just make a bunch of money or so that you can have a bigger house? Does He want you to sow in the flesh? Does He want you to sow in His kingdom? That's everlasting, the eternal life. We all have the choice. I'll leave you with this. I'll leave you with these words from Charles Spurgeon. He said, serve God by doing common actions in a heavenly spirit. And then, only then, if your daily calling only leaves cracks and crevices of time, fill them up with heavenly service, holy service. That in-between time we talked about. This illusion that we don't have free time. You do. What can you do with it? Those cracks and crevices, those small opportunities, how can you glorify God?